The election has divided the U.S. off and online, with simmering controversy over the spread of fake news on Facebook, plus the surge of harassment on Twitter. Meantime, President-elect Donald Trump himself is using Twitter to call out those he thinks are wrong, airing his grievances with everyone from the cast of the musical Hamilton to Saturday Night Live to the New York Times, before eventually meeting with the Times editorial board today. Joining me now, Dan McComas, co-founder and CEO of Imzy, a startup building out a community platform with the goal of defeating trolls and online abuse. Dan, you used to work at Reddit. So new voices with the election of Donald Trump have joined the online conversation. There's been a rise in racist and hateful language and accounts on Twitter. For example, we're now seeing folks identifying themselves as part of an alt-right movement, so-called, a controversial term. How do you plan to monitor, moderate, or even suppress this kind of discussion?
Well, we really think about it as a culture problem. Of course, there's technology that is involved in helping us detect and prevent these kind of things. But the biggest thing that we think that other companies have really forgotten is that what we're dealing with is a culture. So we raised enough money so that we could spend a long time in private beta, so we could start communities to actually seed our culture. And I think what you'll see is that on Twitter, especially Reddit, Facebook, and these other places, what you really have is a culture of hate. You have a culture of harassment. And by having a culture of these things, they're really encouraged and they're really spread far and wide. So that's really what we're looking at.
How do you actually change that? I mean, I'm sure, Reddit didn't start out thinking they would be breeding a culture of hate, and neither did Facebook or
Sure.
Twitter. These networks sort of become what the users often want them to become.
Sure, but you have to focus on it from day one. And I think, and I know that personally, that these other platforms really didn't. What you focus on as a startup is growth at all costs. And especially when your business model is one of advertising, you're really forced to focus on growth. You focus on growth at all costs. And when you have something that is really proving to exponentially grow your platform overnight, you go with that. And if that happens to be harassment and hate, you're incentivized to go with that. What we're really trying to do is set up a different business model, one that is in line with the communities, one that is really in favor of the communities, so that we're forced to make decisions against these things. We know that we can't solve the problem that there are jerks online. It's not something that we can solve, but by merely trying and providing the tools from day one for community leaders and community members to help us help them, we're going to be in a better place. At least that's our belief.
So Friday night, for example, the cast of Hamilton delivered a much talked about message to Vice Presidential-elect Mike Pence, who was in the audience. The star of Hamilton saying, "We, sir, we are the diverse America who are alarmed and anxious that your new administration will not protect us, our planet, our children, our parents, or defend us and uphold our inalienable rights." President-elect Trump said that Vice President-elect Pence had been harassed. How do you define and, more importantly, monitor what may or may not be harassment? Some people felt that what the cast of Hamilton discussed wasn't harassment at all.
Well, I think that's a good question, and there's always a gray line that's hard to tread. We're lucky that in a community platform we have a hierarchy. So we have community leaders, we have community members, and we're able to surface problems like that in a more organic way. I think that you have real problems on Twitter that their rules aren't applied evenly. So I think a lot of the things that you see Donald Trump doing, you saw also Milo Yiannopoulos doing, and he was banned when Trump wasn't. So, we really intend to enforce our rules equally across all people, whether they're stars or not. Harassment is harassment. But we recognize that that is a hard gray line, so we're very focused on scaling our teams appropriately to our communities, which is something that you don't see these other companies really focusing on.
So if you were Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey right now, what would you be doing differently?
Oh man, that's a hard problem because you've got so many years of this pervasive problem. You know, I think that he needs to lay down the law. I think that he needs to ban a lot of people. He needs to stop a lot of behavior. He needs to take a lot of actions like not allowing anybody to participate on Twitter without verifying their email address. You know, there are simple actions that people aren't taking because they have to focus on growth at all costs. And these are, you know, these are some of them. I wrote a post recently about this, you know, and there's just a lot of simple things, you know, focusing on making sure that people have the right identities so that they can be authentic. There's just a lot of easy things that he could be doing that they're not.
And what about President-elect Trump himself, who, you know, certainly he's not taken a break from Twitter at all, to the surprise of many. You've got a survey that came out today saying that most people would like him to shut down his personal Twitter account. How should Trump be behaving?
I think he should be banned from Twitter. I mean, if he were doing what he did on our platform, he would have been banned many years ago because he is in effect calling for harassment of different people. And it's not proper behavior. You know,
so you think Jack Dorsey should ban Donald Trump from Twitter?
I think he should have a long time ago, yes.